Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar where we'll learn how to create influencer content that will stand out during Black Friday by finding creators outside your niche. Now, today's guest speaker is influencer turned influencer marketing strategist, Jessica, who'll be sharing some of her favorite collaborations and ways to find some super interesting partnerships for your program. Now, whilst we wait for others to join, I personally really love a poll, so let's run our first one. Okay, so poll number one. Where are you at with planning this year's Black Friday influencer campaigns? Perhaps you're finished, maybe you're almost there, still quite early on, maybe you've not started yet, or you're not working in influencer marketing yet. Now, whilst you guys go ahead with an answer, I'm going to do a little introduction on myself. So, hello, my name is Simone, and I am a content producer and influencer marketing expert here at Modash. Now, from 2012 to 2022, I, in fact, also worked as a professional influencer, working with brands such as Amazon, Look Fantastic, The Body Shop, racking up over 41 million views on YouTube alone. So creating yearly Black Friday content was like my bread and butter every single year. But when I was head of influencer at a busy UK agency, working with creators on Black Friday campaigns was very much yearly routine. And my advice is to definitely start planning your campaigns as early as possible. So let's reveal the results from poll number one. I'm intrigued to see where you guys are at. Okay, a lot of you are not yet working in influencer marketing, okay, and not quite started yet. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's do another poll. Now, do you feel like your previous Black Friday content has been scroll stopping? So I'm just going to wait for that to come up. There we go. Perhaps it broke the internet. And if it did, I want to know how in the comments because I'm very much intrigued. Maybe it got lots of attention. It might have been reliable and worked well. Maybe not quite as good as you hoped. And maybe this poll is not applicable to you. Anyway, so by the end of this roundtable, you have learned how to spot the true cost of blending in, discover your brand's story fit, learn how to vet creators with intention, and how to balance bold bets against those safe bets. And the agenda will be super simple. We'll hear from Jessica about how to create influencer content that stands out during Black Friday. And then we're going to hold a discussion and Q&A. So please do ask your questions during this webinar by using the comment box, which I believe is to the right. Okay, let's reveal the results from poll number two. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, so a lot of you, not quite as good as you hoped. Okay, this is a great webinar for you then. Okay, Jessica, I know there's going to be so many brands trying to make the most of Black Friday this year. So I cannot wait to hear more about how you can get your content to really stand out this year. Over to you.
Thank you, Simone. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about something sneaky that's definitely killing performance in influencer marketing, and it's called overfitting. So if you've ever run a campaign where the content blended into the feed, I know you know, especially when you're doom scrolling, we're constantly going past them. Or maybe the creator looked perfect on paper, but tanked on performance. This is definitely for you. We're going to break down what overfitting is, how it drains results, how to fix it with smarter casting. Now, I've really made sure to approach this from a holistic lens. So whether like you're a campaign manager, a talent manager, a brand, a creator, you're definitely going to find some takeaways here. So, quick intro as to why I care so much about this. I'm Jessica Mann, as Simone stated. I started in this industry as a creator long before creator was even a job title. I was on every platform, on every PR list, ton of brands trips. If anyone remembers Dramageddon in the beauty community, I certainly was there for that. And I'm really talking way back when brand strategy essentially meant, here's a free lipstick, please post about it. Now I'm on the other side. I love helping brands get results. I've managed hundreds of partnerships. I've rewritten way too many briefs that said 97% of people saw healthier, more glowing skin. I know talent managers hate getting that, and definitely built a lot of systems to scale. So after, 30 million plus impressions, raising, engagement rate from 2 to 11% for paid campaigns and, over 900 subs on Substack. Can't believe that still. There's nothing more than I love than talking about casting. So I want to be clear here. I don't want to talk about casting that makes brand teams feel safe. Sometimes actually probably many times. My ideas scare teams, but they trust me because I know how to cast for what makes people stop scrolling. And here's how I frame it, right? If your casting choices could show up in your competitor's deck, they're too safe, in my opinion, right? And if you're a creator or you're a talent manager, so to speak, I feel like a brief you don't want it to feel like you're like, I don't know, cosplaying another influencer, right? You really want to make sure that you're pushing back because your story is the value. So here's the problem we all keep running into. The real reason that influencer content isn't performing the way it used to is because we're always overfitting. I think a lot of marketers or influencer marketers here, we cast by niche a lot of the time, right? I feel like we're always scrambling to like match very hyper specific parameters instead of leaning into a narrative. And what happens when we do that? Well, I think we've all been there, right? You scroll and you see the exact same campaign posted by 5 different creators saying the exact same thing. And at peak times like Black Friday, costs spike. Suddenly every brand is yelling, I don't know, buy now, limited time, discount code up to 40% off. You've heard it. I'm sure we've all heard it, right? Feels like a group project that like everyone's copied the same damn slide on. So if your brief has the same call to action line as 3 other brands are using, you can expect diminishing returns. Not only that, but if you're a creator, you probably just sound and look like everyone else as a result, and your metrics end up tanking too, right? That's this spiral we keep going down. It's higher CPMs, lower ROI, forgettable content, and it rarely starts with the creator. It actually usually starts with the casting. For my talent managers, you're not off the hook here because a lot of times we take the blame as campaign managers, but I do want to put it onto you because especially with casting calls, we don't want to see you send your roster into very obvious category pitches. It kind of dilutes their value, right? So let's flip it and see what happens when you cast for story instead of category. Miss Charlotte Tilbury, one of my favorite brands. For those who don't know, huge makeup brand, could have done what every other, I guess, beauty brand does is work with another beauty creator. It's easy, it's safe, it's logical, it's a beauty brand, right? So target audience, beauty audience. Instead, oddly, they partnered with a creator making soap opera skits using Sylvanian family toys. Yeah, a mouse, as you can see clearly on the screen here, in a soap opera asking for a moisturizer. It sounds like unhinged, and that's exactly why it works, right? That magic cream moment actually racked up over 700,000 views. So why would someone like Charlotte Tilbury pick a creator like this, right? It's because the easiest way to integrate a product into a story is through story fit. And they weren't the star of this exact campaign, and they didn't want to be. They just wanted to be part of the scene. I really want to stress this because I feel like too often I see campaigns where they almost get it right. Like they're almost there, but then midway through a skit or a campaign, the creator kind of suddenly drops what they're talking about, and they're now inserting like 3 different talking points that the brand specifically needs for key messaging for over 10 seconds. And that just completely kills the moment. It takes you out of the story. You want to be part of the story, never, never, never an interruption. And that's what we call story fit, right? For campaign managers and brand teams, I don't want you to be afraid to defend a weird casting choice if the story logic is like solid. Weird is memorable, right? And if you can explain why it feels natural, you'll usually get a yes from the team, right? So once you see this, you're going to end up seeing it everywhere. And we have another great example here with Flamingo. So Flamingo, again, could have hired a skincare influencer, right? Talk about smooth legs, but instead they casted Logan Moffat. I'm sure most of us has seen him on our feeds, but he's the guy known for those like chaotic cucumber salad videos. And what did he do? Well, he shaved cucumbers with the Flamingo razor, which is like mind-blowing. I wish I thought of it, honestly, because there's no beauty lighting, there was no routine. It quite literally, he took a razor and shaved a cucumber with it. And it worked, right? Like he got 5.4 million views, nearly 1 million likes, and profile visits went up like 1,000% was the spike, right? So here's the lesson I always want to put forth. sometimes low production value is the value. I think a lot of times brands want to over polish what works naturally instead of thinking high quality camera lens or like super crazy editing. I want us to think how many viral videos start with someone ranting in their car or showing you what they bought in the Walmart parking lot. Like most times that's kind of honestly what I want to see when I'm scrolling my feed. I want to see something more authentic, something more raw. I also want to see talent managers starting to pitch your creators' quirks, right? Not beauty, lifestyle, get ready with me. Like that's not memorable, but like chaotic cucumber guy, like I'm going to remember a pitch like that. So your job here as a manager is to find the connector between the quirk and the brand. And when you can perfect this, I can guarantee you're going to find that your pitches land a paid campaign much more often, right? Which brings us to the fix, which is casting smarter, not harder. We've got to stop casting by niche. I want us to get into the habit of casting for story. I want us to start asking, questions like, I don't know, what energy does this creator radiate, or what POV shows up in their content, even if they're not saying it. They don't have to speak it within their content. You can almost sometimes find those little hidden gems, so to speak. I'll give a great example. I was casting for a Mother's Day skincare campaign. I did the safe thing when I was filtering. I was doing the demos, the metrics, niche. It did work. I found some great creators, but it was also bringing up the same creators I'd already worked with and just not what I would consider outside the box. You know what I mean? I feel like I knew every campaign that week was going to be a Mother's Day thank you mom post, which is sweet. Like it's nice, but it's super repetitive. And I wanted to, I hate using the terms like cut through the noise, but like I wanted to cut through the noise. Okay. Like I was like, I'm going to flip this. I completely flipped it. Normally I might search for something like mom or parenting. But using an influencer marketing platform, I wanted to start searching for keywords like scripted series, humor skit, right? In our topics. And that's how I found Mackenzie Barman. She's not a mom at all, but man, is she one hell of a storyteller. She had a running skit series with characters people love that included a mom, a daughter, an aunt, and she was posting this series weekly. She even had me locked in, right? So I knew right then and there that I struck gold. I really felt like I saw the story within her content. And for me, that's what I did. I pitched it, told her to weave the product in however natural it felt, and then I just let her run, right? The toner just ended up becoming part of the plot. So it pulled the most views out of everyone on that campaign. It had over 400,000 views, but more importantly, the comments lit up. I feel like people were actually excited about the ad, and people were actually mentioning that in the comments. It was like the first time I had experienced it, and to me, that's resonance. So here's my advice to you, right? I always add a story fit column to my tracker and I force myself to score it. So not only am I choosing creators a bit more outside the box or forcing myself to, right? I also feel like I find more of, if I do have a typical fit or more of a typical box, so to speak, for the creator, I still find a way to make their content fit with this story and then frame it from that lens, right? As a talent manager or a creator, I also feel this is a really great hack to frame your deck around stories instead of just using your stats, right? I like to use stats as proof of concept instead of your main selling point. So how do you start finding your brand's story fit? Well, step one is the obvious. Know your story. We start with category entry points. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but we call these CEPs for short. It's basically a term for real life triggers for buying. It's not saying I want skincare, but more of my skin freaked out after this vacation. Or instead of I need shoes, it's my feet are dying on this city trip that I've walked, 10 miles on, right? Then you look at identity. Who already lives within that moment? Is it confidence? Is it calm? Is it chaos? Like, how do you want it to embody? And who shows that naturally within their content? And then finally, last but certainly not least, is format, right? Is your story best told in a voiceover? Is it a humorous skit? Is it a vlog? Is it the typical get ready with me? I always workshop CEPs before the brief, because I feel if you skip this step, castings just, it will end up kind of defaulting to the obvious every single time. And as a creator, because I've lived this as one, right, I always recommend to build content around those triggers that your audience is already experiencing, right? Once you've got the story, I think the next step is really making sure that your creator can carry it. One way I really, really enjoy finding creators with CEPs is by searching by quote unquote vibes. Yes, that sounds funny. But on an influencer marketing platform like Modash, we have the option to do this AI creator search, right? So maybe we're looking for a runner who loves coffee. Maybe the coffee brand has extra protein. I don't know, right? So they want to work with someone who's really into fitness or running, getting up early in the morning. Certainly not me, but go for it if that's your thing. Well, you could do the typical fitness search, right, through topics, but that's not really finding the aesthetic we're looking for. So I like using something like runner with latte, right? It will pull up a bunch of images of runner with lattes, and then you can kind of search through and stumble upon someone like Alexa here. She kind of caught my eye. And then I can dive even deeper into her metrics and then look to see if she would be a really, really good fit for the brand. After that, it is time to vet. And no, not by follower count. I know people who know me very well. I love to chirp people who are still obsessed with follower count because I'm like, it's 2025. But anyways, 3 things here. We have reach, we have relevance, and we have resonance, right? Reach is how many people see the content. We have relevance, which is, does their vibe fit your brand's world? And then resonance is that goal that I was referring to with Mackenzie. Like, are people tagging friends? Are they commenting things like, this is so me? Are they showing buying intent? Like that, you've hit, you have gotten a hit when someone is showing purchasing intent. So I love using comments as data. People skip over this, and I don't know why, because sometimes screenshots of follower reactions are way stronger than any click-through rate can tell you. But if you are a creator, my biggest piece of advice is to keep a folder of comments where people are saying so relatable or buying this now or something, emotional or sentimental, and send that to your manager monthly. And if you're your manager, get your creator to be sending this to you as soon as possible, because that's social proof that brands love, right? Once you know how to spot resonance, the challenge usually is how to scale. So how do I do this, right? I like to train my brain to scroll differently. We all know, we all probably doom scroll here. And honestly, as people who are in the industry, we usually consume content different than the average person. And this can be a pro and it can be a con for us. So I always like to ask myself when I'm scrolling, could my product live in this story without breaking it? Because I feel like that is the key difference. I think it's so accessible to keep folders. Yes, maybe I'm a nerd when it comes to the folders, but TikTok and Instagram, you can save folders and have those unusual fits within them, right? Most people use them to build out their dream vacation. I do that too. I mean, listen, I want to go back to Italy in a heartbeat, but I also like to use them for building out my dream campaign. So whenever I take on a new client, I also build those like story keyword banks, I like to call them. And I usually start with them providing me their keywords, and I kind of work off of it from there. A lot of creators and managers forget how many of us use influencer marketing platforms on the day-to-day. So creators should always, 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 always learn how to describe your content with tone words outside of like niche descriptors, okay? It makes you more discoverable on these platforms, and therefore it's easier for you to come up when I'm searching. So let's take a brief pause here. I want to take a second to poll the audience. I'd love to know if any of you have ever had success with an unusual creator. Drop your, answer within here, but also like feel free to share any scenario in the comments too. We'll definitely look into the answers shortly. Very, very exciting. I see we have some people from Brazil. My boyfriend's from Brazil, so shout out. I'm going to give everyone a few more moments. Perfect. Okay, moving into strategy. So you found the perfect story fit creator. Let's not ruin it. right? We don't want to overmanage. We don't want to rewrite captions into corporate jargon. You picked them for their story. Let them tell it. Yes, there are guardrails. Almost all of us have them. Maybe you got legal or compliance, yada, yada. That's real. So balance it. I like to pair those bold bets with safe bets. And then you make it like a muscle, right? You start to save those unexpected fits and you build short lists from them. I want to encourage every single one of us to protect creators from brands asking to over edit. Learn to explain why an edit can kill a performance. I think talent managers were always negotiating rates, right? But a lot of the times you stop there. Negotiate creative freedom as much as you negotiate the rates, because that's also, as a campaign manager, what keeps me coming back to a creator again and again and again, right? A lot of times those edits can really, really kill performance. So let's bring it all home, okay? Casting by category is very, very easy, but casting by story fit is what actually works. Okay. It's about living the story your product belongs in, right? Look for scroll moments, tone, trust, context, reverse engineer, not just what people buy, but why they actually buy it, right? Strategy is always going to start with you. I always say to just test small. When you're ready to scale, it's great to use an influencer marketing platform like Modash, but stretch, bold, and build from what works. If the story already fits, it's not going to feel like an ad. It's just going to feel like content. And before, I always say this to kind of close it out and throw it back to Simone here. Before you green light a creator, stop and ask yourself, does this feel like an ad? If it feels like an ad, rethink it. You want it to feel like a story, right? So that's always what I kind of leave with, and I'll hand it back to Simone to close it out.
Jessica, thank you so much. That was so insightful. I have a question I want to ask you first. What's your take and your view on the Matt Rife and Elf cosmetics collaboration? Because I have so many thoughts, and it was last week's news, but I'm going to put it into this week's news. I want to know what you think about it.
It's funny that you say it's like last week's. I still feel like these topics, like if it's not Elf, it's every other brand that is doing it. I have a theory, a conspiracy theory, that I do think that they did it purposefully. I just can't, knowing how big Elf is, I can't believe that the amount of people in that room didn't vet Matt Rife. I mean, the first thing I would have been doing is going in and looking at his demos, and then also looking at the resonance. What are people commenting? Just a Google search as well. So I actually think they did it to test the audience and see what kind of reaction they would get. And everyone, I mean, we're talking about it on the live right now, right? So they got exactly what they wanted, which is some advertisement. At the end of the day, Elf is a great brand. They're very affordable. Do I think they made a mistake? Absolutely. But you know what? They got what they needed. So it's just one of those things that's very interesting to watch when all these brands are kind of having these controversial moments online right now.
It's like with the rage bait stuff versus the oops moments with the I don't know, Sweet Lorenz changing the TikTok name to Ryan is a whole, was it by accident or was it actually a setup? So it's very interesting how actually if you're picking the wrong creator for your campaigns, it can lead to a backlash like Elf did. But hey, we're speaking about it, so maybe that was their intention.
I know. It is very interesting. Even in the comments, I saw a lot of people being like, how did no one vet this? How did no one even look deeper into it? So, again, very interesting. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that boardroom, but we'll never know.
Okay. Should we bring up the results from your poll? I'm really interested to see the results are. Okay. Oh, a lot of you have not used them. This is interesting. I'm kind of hoping like after watching this, they're gonna, start using kind of these interest and different creators. Okay, I'm gonna pull up another question from the audience. We've had a couple, so let's pull another one up on screen. Please do ask your questions, guys. Use the chat box to the right, and we'll get through them. Okay, do you still look at followers when you're building this story fit recommendation? Is there an engagement metric that you lean on in addition to follower count, especially if you're looking at someone with 1,000 followers versus someone with 100,000?
Okay, this is a great question because I know I had mentioned that I was like, don't look like follower count is really irrelevant. I will say this. There are still some old school brands who love seeing a follower count. At the end of the day, as a campaign manager, my job is to make all parties happy. And one of those jobs is the brand. Sometimes I like using follower count as a little bit more of a, I would say, not a relevance indicator, but like, have they built a bit of a brand, right? Unless I'm doing something UGC where they're, or like a micro campaign where they're under 30,000 followers, then I might, not care that much. But sometimes I like having a bigger following just to understand that there's already some indication of people are liking this creator. However, I will say that a lot of micro creators, smaller creators, have much bigger relationships with their followers. So it can be kind of one of those things. You might have 100,000 followers and get 3 comments, and you might have 30,000 followers and get 100 comments. So
Yeah.
that's why I like to look deeper than just follower count when I'm diving into the metrics. I think it's really, really important to take a quantitative and a qualitative approach. Look at the deep dive, look at all the little nitty gritties, but then also go to their page and actually like envision, like I said, that story fit. Envision yourself within the actual the timeline of like taking the product and being like, will this fit naturally, or is it going to feel like an ad? No one wants to be holding up like a foundation and being like, oh, buy this. Like, you want it to feel super, super natural.
Absolutely. And I guess with someone with a lower following, perhaps they create killer content and you could repurpose that content for your ads for Black Friday, or you can put them in newsletters, emails. I think, I don't think sometimes looking at the follower count is you kind of missing the bigger picture sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You repurpose that content. Okay, let's get to another question. Thank you so much for that question. Keep them coming. Okay, I always get shot down when pitching unusual creators to leadership because they're scared of the risk. Any advice on how to pitch to them differently? Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, I love this question because I have been that person who is being shot down many, many, many times. Mackenzie was a great example of someone that like I finally broke through the mold, so to speak. My biggest piece of advice is finding the connector, right? I think our job is people think marketing, like it's sales at the end of the day. And sales also includes you being able to sell the creator and the pitch, right? So I like taking whatever the quirky or unusual fit is, and I actually try to build out the story. Like I almost work backwards, build out the story, find the creator or character fit within that, and then I pitch it from that lens. In saying that, I also like to take the data, like their comment section or any key indicators that are like, they're already looking for a cream, or they're already looking for running. Look at all these people who are asking them, what it is that they're using on their day-to-day routine. So there is unique ways, but it really does come down to the sales pitch. And sometimes you just need some data to back it up, or just a case study. You can test 2 different verticals, keep it safe on one side, and then have your kind of, weird creators on the other. And you'll see which ones end up outperforming. And again, Mackenzie, Logan, these are all examples of great positioning that just worked and went viral and was so natural,
That's brilliant. What percentage would you recommend starting out with, like percentage of brand fit versus the story fit creators?
Okay, I'm going to be a troublemaker here. I think that story fit should be like 65-70% of your mix. I think that we're just entering in a completely different age of social media where we are just doom scrolling. We are flicking, by so quickly. So to me, the way to be able to integrate your product so naturally is the way that you're going to get people to actually stay within the page. We see watch retention. Why are you going to pay a creator $10,000 if the watch retention is 0.2 of a second, right? So for me personally, like I like to do a higher bit of a mix. The younger brands, so to speak, are more comfortable with that. But if you are working with, your typical maybe like a CPG brand and they've got legal and stuff like that, you might end up having to do more of a 40% split of, building your case study. And then the rest of it might be more of that brand fit. There is a time and place for both types. I just always feel like story fit performs and much better in my point of view and my experience.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next poll because I think it'd be interesting to get everyone's response on this one. So poll number 3, will you search outside your niche for Black Friday? Maybe you're 100% going to find story fit influencers. Maybe you'll keep it in mind. Maybe not right now, or perhaps you're not running any Black Friday campaign. I'm going to go on to a next question. I'm going to leave that with you guys just to answer and come back to it in a second. So let's get another question up. Okay. Do you have any advice on creative briefs? How can a brand balance certain guidelines and creative freedom? Thank you very much, Chloe.
How do you balance creative freedom and guidelines? It's a great, okay. My first response here is to push back as much as you can. I used to work with brands that were very much like high legal compliance. Like we couldn't do too much, so to speak. And a lot of the jargon that we used to have in our key messaging was that 97% of people. So what I ended up doing is I actually reworked the key messaging for them. And I said, here's how I would put it in a way that speaks to how the creator is going to, like how they would digest it on their feed. I also like putting it back on them. What are you actually, like as the brand manager, what are you scrolling past? Are you scrolling past the ads that are saying 97% of people? Because if you are, then maybe it's time to rethink the way that we're approaching the messaging. But in general, like it really is about coming in with a story, coming in with, I guess, examples and like as many case studies as you can to be able to push back. Same with talent managers as well. Like I love when a talent manager comes back to me and says, nope. You would be surprised at how many times if a talent manager doesn't push back, it's like, okay, then the key messaging is going to get put in there. But when a talent manager pushes back on me and I go back to the brand and I say, hey, they're not going to do this video unless we do it their way. A lot of the times you will find that a brand manager goes, okay, no problem. Like we'll do it their way. Like it's very, I hate to give like the trade secrets, but it's very true. Very, very true.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been a creator, I've been a creator. We know what works. And when you get a very strict brand of, you must say this and they present you a script, it just kills the authenticity, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what's the point of working? To me, what's the point of doing all of that work and finding the right creator and having like what is the point of doing all that if you are just going to give them 5-point key messages that takes you out of the story? I feel like the best ads never feel like ads. Like I want to scroll and just be immersed within the story. And then naturally, if something comes along that, I'm much more likely to want to buy it. And maybe this is just me as an influencer marketer, but I just appreciate it more. I'm like, man, they really took the time to kind of find a way to fit it in. And I don't know, maybe I geek out a little bit with that, but that's my opinion.
What about retention time? So StoryFit creators, I'm going to talk about YouTube in particular because YouTube tends to be longer format.
Yeah.
And you have to really pay attention with retention time on YouTube because there's only so many minutes people do watch. So how do you think StoryFit creators fit in there, especially for ads?
That is a good question because I feel like short-term and long-term content, there's two different approaches to it. When you're doing long form, you really, really want to make sure that the story has like the beginning, the middle, and the end. But outside of that, you need to have hooks within it. So, and more often than obviously like your 30-second video with something that might be 6, 10, I've seen videos on, YouTube that are like 45 minutes long. Usually it's what are the ones that are like, it's a conspiracy theory or it's like a true crime documentary. And I'm like, oh, I'm just locked in when it comes to that because it's very much my interest. But I like looking at when you're looking at your data too, look at past performance and what has been dropped off and what is happening at that section. Is it the visual cue, right? Is it something that you said that people are dropping off? I think that's a good indicator on where you need to insert more of a hook or something to grab the attention. I hate bringing up, people like Mr. Beast because he's massive, but he has really curated the way to get nonstop attention from people, right? And those quick cuts and all of that. So I think there is storytelling, but there's a visual approach to that as well.
Got it. Okay, let's bring the results up from poll number 3. I'm interested to see if these guys are going to go for it. Oh, okay. So a lot of you are going to keep in mind when finding influencers, but we do have a good majority of you who are going to start finding StoryFit creators, which is great. I definitely advocate for the storytelling as well as a creator and yourself as a creator and experimenting on different campaigns. delve into it, and I guess you can use the data to find out if it works for your brand or not. Okay, let's go to another. Oh, sorry, Jess.
I know. I was just gonna say, I think as a creator too, like I get more passionate about what I'm actually filming when I want, like when I really, really love what I'm doing, right? And when you, especially, and Simone, you've probably experienced this, when you have a brand who's like, no, cut out this, no, say it like this, it's just, it kills their creativity. And it makes me like, I'm not even excited about what I'm posting at that point because I know it's not going to perform. I wish I could like rewind my life and go back to those moments I felt like that and push, advocate for myself. But if you are a talent manager, or you're a creator, and even a campaign manager for that matter, like really making sure that you're pushing to let the story tell itself and let creators do what they do best, which is create, right?
Absolutely. I also think that if you are too kind of pushy on the creator, it can damage relationships.
Yes.
If you'll come across as too, hate to say the word, but controlling, a bit too
Yeah.
restrictive, then it can definitely kill a relationship. And my best relationships have been those that have been going on for years and years, and they've just been like, hey, here it is, you do your thing, obviously within the guidelines, and it creates magic, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited, you're excited, the person scrolling is not going to see the same content, the same thing as they've seen 10 times that day. So I think it is really important. Okay, let's go for the next question. I find it challenging to look beyond my niche when planning a large-scale campaign with 100 plus creators at once, for example. To me, it makes more sense to reach the same audience since they're exposed to the same stimulus and the brand becomes more memorable. Thank you, Alice. That's a really good question.
That is, I find it challenging too, but for me, I keep in mind the mix, right? So kind of what we were talking about earlier. If I do, if it's the case of scale and you really want to make sure that you're just getting a bunch of creators that fit within one thing, you can do that. Absolutely. You can go into the topics and you can really make sure that you're searching by, we'll use the running example, right? Fitness, shoes, whatever. But I do challenge people, if you do want to have those couple of outside the boxes, it doesn't have to be the entire campaign, but if you want to throw in the 5 or 6 that are just a little bit more outside the box as more of like that testing variable, I find that that's a bit easier to scale in my opinion, especially because I'm not going to short it. StoryFit does take more time. It takes more thought. It takes more effort. It's not as quick to get them up. But I do think that if you start saving people or you're building out a short list, like I said, I like having specific brands and I throw in those creators and make sure that when the time comes that we're building out a campaign, I already have a list that's set for me where I'm like, oh, I visualize them in this sense. And then it's just easier to pitch to the brand at scale.
I think going for those different creators, like the StoryFit ones, is how you become memorable, as opposed to just like, I've just seen that brand on my feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, when you're, if you're sticking to one niche, I kind of see that as almost like a brand campaign in some respect. Like you're just brand awareness, you're just kind of you. But if you want to go for those kind of story that really grabs the attention of someone, that's how you become memorable, right? So if you balance the two, then you're onto like a winning mix here. Like I think it's, if you want to become memorable, because there's so many content that I've seen from the same brand, same kind of content, and I just forget about it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. Okay, one more question. I think we'll go for another one. But if you do have another question, please let us know in the comments. Okay. Oh, thank you. What was the last product you were influenced to purchase through a piece of sponsored content? Oh, this is so good.
Oh my goodness. This is such a great question. And now I have to really, really think about it. Is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to, okay.
I've got one.
Okay, well. you go first. You go first, Simone.
Okay, so my sister got married at the weekend, and I saw this ad of this pen that will literally get rid of any stain on any white. So it was literally like, I think it was like, it wasn't just like your typical ad. It was someone, I think it was almost like some footballer, and they literally like had a white t-shirt and it got really like, it was something random. It was like food or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the pen and it got it off and it just went. And I thought, my sister's wedding, like she needs this product in her life. She's got to have that, because if she has an oops moment in the morning of got this magic pen, right, that was like my most recent one that made me think, oh, because I wasn't the, it wasn't a bridal advert. It
Yeah.
was like a football one, and it just definitely like fit into my story. It made me think of her.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. I mean, to me, it makes sense. It's interesting. This question too is about ads as opposed to like just me scrolling, because I mean, there's tons of times I'm scrolling and I'm like influenced. But I would say the last one was I'm having some skin problems. I inherited it from my father. He's probably watching right now. Thanks, Dad. And there is a girl that I follow that does a bunch of laundry tips. And I couldn't tell you her name, but she's Canadian. And I was scrolling and I wasn't even thinking. I knew that my skin had been irritating me, but somehow she came up in my feed and she was talking about laundry soap and unscented laundry soap. And then there was one brief moment where she mentioned skin conditions and making it easier like on your skin. And I never honestly thought about switching out my laundry soap. And it was a laundry soap ad. However, in saying that, I didn't just buy it because, she was talking. I trust this influencer because she's constantly not even promoting products. I really do think that she only works with brands that she truly loves and thinks work. So ultimately she got me, and I love laundry soap. I love it. It's great. It's non-scented. My clothes still end up smelling nice, even though they don't really smell like anything because it's unscented. And I would repurchase in a heartbeat. So I think her name's Mel or something like that. Maybe I forget. I'll have to look it up, but she's awesome. She's great.
A question for myself. What do you expect to see this Black Friday? What do you think brands are going to do? Are we going to see more rage bait? Are we going to see more oops moments? What are we going to see?
I think we're going to see a mix. I definitely think like we're going to see the typical, as we always do every year, the boring like 40% off and discount codes. We'll definitely see that. I think that I'll bring up some brands that we always talk about on LinkedIn. I'm sure you've heard them a million times, Simone. Like I'm really watching Duolingo right now because the social media, she's left. So I want to see who comes in by that point to do an ad and what kind of ad they're going to do. There's Liquid Death. I think they'll probably do something more outside, like not rage bait, but like very, very like abstract. And then of course, like I want to see what Elf does, because now their time, they almost have to like make up for what's going on. So I think they'll probably lean into something more story fit, so to speak. But I think we're going to see a mix. I think we're still in this era where it's a heavy mix between it all. And ultimately, like my dream is to come to a Black Friday and it not feel like it's 40% off this, that. I just want to be able to watch my feed and just, feel inspired to purchase, but not like forced to, if that makes sense. Like, because I feel like some of them just feel forced.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more people using influencers in their prep campaigns leading up to Black Friday. So I think a lot of people planting the seeds, like creating these like stories. And also I think giveaways as well with influencers are going to be a big thing before Black Friday. Again, creating those kind of email lists so that they can then deliver their messaging during Black Friday. Definitely think that's going to be a big thing. And so I actually think more story fit creators are going to be using the prep. I think that's quite a smart way of doing it, and then getting those emails in. Then you can email them a few times over Black Friday, can't you? Well, thank you so much, Jessica. Please let everyone know where they can find you.
Yes, so a couple of different socials. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jessica Jane Mann. I have a Substack and a newsletter called Seen Not Sponsored. And then as well, if you want to follow my, my Instagram and stuff, it is @theblondeman, where yes, I still do beauty content every once in a while, but I plan to be posting more about influencer marketing in the future.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for attending. You will receive a webinar replay in your inbox, so you can rewatch this at any time. And we're also sending additional resources so you can keep an eye out on your email. Now, if you're feeling like you've outgrown your current process and you want help scaling your influencer program by using Modash, you can book a free one-to-one strategy session with our team by using the booking link, which is on screen, and you can find it in the comments chat as well. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye, everyone.